Hello my dear friends, you're in the Military Summary channel. In this short video we're going to discuss the most important events that took place during the previous night. First we're going to start with Artyomovsk. The Russians reported that during the previous night the Ukrainians made successful offensive operation on the northern flank of Artyomovsk, and as a result of that attack they managed to answer the settlement by the name of Berkhovka, this one, and the Russians also saying that the Ukrainians managed to establish control over the, let's call it, southwestern part of that settlement. Currently the Russians have already launched the counter-offensive operation, and as a result of that attack some Ukrainian forces were destroyed, and currently there is a very heavy clashes inside the western part of this settlement. The Ukrainians continue moving more and more reserves, and so we'll see during the day the results of that battle. Also today the Russians published a series of video of attack during June against the Ukrainian forces that were moving from the roads between Chasov Yar and Ivanovska. As you can see, the very video has a lot of episodes of artillery strikes, of destroying on mines and so on. So during the previous months the Ukrainians have lost a lot of forces, a lot of armored vehicles on these roads between Chasov Yar and between Ivanovska. So as you can see, the Ukrainians continue having losses without even clashes on the combat line. So basically that means the positions of Ukrainians in Ivanovska is not so very good, and also that means that the Russians do have possibilities to use artillery systems safely without any counter-artillery attacks from the Ukrainian side. To tell the truth, I don't remember such a number of videos from the Ukrainian side where they were showing how they were destroying the Russian armored vehicles, and of course this is a very big disaster for the Ukrainians. Furthermore, the Russians published another video how they destroyed the Ukrainian air defense system Strela 10 between Chasov Yar and Konstantinovka. In this area, the Ukrainians' air defense system was spotted, and after that the Russians launched artillery attack, and as a result of that system was destroyed. Now we are moving further to the north, and we're going to talk about Liman area. The Russians reported that during the previous day they managed to repel the Ukrainian attack. The Ukrainian attempt to attack the Russian positions in the vicinity of Dibrova. The Ukrainians for those purposes were using tanks, infantry under support protection of tank, and as soon as the tank left the forest line, the Russians attacked the tank and destroyed it. Furthermore, the Russian sources published a lot of photos of the area between Liman, Zarechne, Tarskoye. So basically the Ukrainians created a very powerful fortification area on these territories, ex-Russian territories. As you can see, there are almost every single forest line, almost every single forest or field was turned by the Ukrainians into significant strongholds, and there are a lot of strongholds, a lot of fortifications on this territory. And basically the Liman settlement, Liman city, is encircled with different types of fortifications, different types of strongholds, and to tell the truth, I won't be surprised that the level of fortifications in the vicinity of Liman is not worse than the level of fortifications in Zaporozhye from the Russian side. It's going to be a very difficult mission for the Russians to return back Liman if they are ever planning to do this. Now we are moving to Donetsk, and the Russians reported that during the previous night they made few attempts to attack the Ukrainian positions from Krutaya Balka in direction of Avdiivka, and the Russians were attacking from Krasnogorovka in direction of Avdiivka from the north. Basically on the north the Russians were trying to regain their lost positions during the previous days counter-offensive operation from the Ukrainian side. For now we haven't received any updates about any results of those attacks, but by the time when this note was published, this piece of news was published, the Russians haven't managed to achieve any success during those attacks. Furthermore, the Ukrainian sources published a video of destroyed howitzer, of destroyed Mstab-B howitzer in the vicinity of settlement Orlovka as a result of usage of guided bombs FAB 250. So the Russians managed to discover and to destroy that vehicle, that artillery system. Now we are moving to Zaporozhye area. The Russians published the first statistic of usage of helicopters during June, during the special military operation. The Russians reported that the Russian sources reported that during June, the Ministry of Defense of Russian Federation published around 111 strikes of helicopters. So just during 1 June, we saw a lot of videos, and we published those videos on the military summer channel as well. And basically, the Russians destroyed, using helicopters, armored vehicles of Ukraine during June more than the entire losses of Ukrainian armored vehicles as a result of helicopter attacks since the beginning of the special military operation. So the level of usage of helicopters have been significantly increased, and just one more time, for June, the Russians destroyed more armored vehicles of Ukraine in comparison than the entire period of special military operation. Now we are moving to Bradley Square and to Petykhatki area. The Ukrainians published the video of results of attack against their positions in Orekhov. That was like some kind of storage of armored vehicles. The same way the Russians were using the guided bombs like 5-250 or 500 or 500. Currently, the Ukrainians try to show that the warehouse or some kind of parking place of Ukrainian armored vehicles and positions. This building was completely ruined under such attack. Furthermore, the Russians reported that starting from the previous evening, the Ukrainians were trying to accumulate some forces between Orekhov on the north of Robotyne, and somewhere at 12 a.m. and 35 minutes we got the first update that Ukrainians launched offensive operation under protection of artillery and infantry personal carriers to the south. Currently, we haven't received any updates about any results of those clashes. There may be still some ongoing fightings. Maybe the Russians have already repelled that attack, but because of the lost pure connection, internet connection, we still haven't received any updates. But so let's wait a little bit. Furthermore, the Ukrainians during the previous night were trying to attack the Russians in the vicinity of Petykhatki. They were trying to send commando squads inside of Petykhatki from these farms, from this area. As you can see, the Russians managed to discover the signal, the spot of a platoon squad of commandos platoon in this area. There were around 30 soldiers according to the 20 soldiers according to the Russian sources. Those forces were trying to start movement in direction of Petykhatki. They were discovered, and the Russian launched artillery attack. As a result of that artillery attack, 8 Ukrainian soldiers were killed and around 5 soldiers were wounded. And finally, we are getting to Kherson area. During the previous night, the Ukrainians published the video how they destroyed Russian artillery system Nona S 120mm self-propelled howitzer. This howitzer was discovered by the Ukrainian intelligence, and after that, as a result of artillery attack, they destroyed that howitzer. And when talking about Antonov Bridge, there were a lot of rumors, updates, a lot of talks about this bridge. After another wave of artillery strikes and so on, the sources were saying that Ukrainians took a decision to leave the bridge and they moved to the north. So they moved to their bank of the river, and the Russians started clearing operation. But as soon as the Russians started the clearing operation, they discovered that this area was completely mined with different types of mines, and the Russians were forced to make the clearing operation under heavy artillery fire from the Ukrainian side. So that was the reason why the Russians took a decision not to finish the clearing operation without any support of demining equipment, and the Russians took a decision to step back. Basically, after that, the Russians reported Ukrainians have returned back to this bank of the river, and currently, according to the information we have, this is the approximate situation, approximate area of control between the Russians and the Ukrainians. The area under the blue line is territory under Ukraine control, and everything that below the red line is under Russian control. So the Ukrainians still controls this bridgehead, this territory, and can try to. This is some kind of trap, and the trap that these forces decides to send more and more forces to death, I believe so. And also the Russians today published very interesting video of demining process. Currently, probably this video was made from Mariupol, from the vicinity of Mariupol. The Russians continue demining using a very interesting types of equipment, different types of equipment, starting from small drones and finishing with very big, powerful trucks that are upgraded to demine and so on. So the peaceful life is returning to this territory as well. And that's it for this short video. Military Summary channel reminds to condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel. Put your likes, join my Patreon. And have a good day. Bye bye.